Unit 1, Variable Statistics. Lesson 1, Getting to Know You, our learning target. I can tell statistical questions from non-statistical questions and can explain the differences. Statistics is about using data to solve problems or make decisions. There are two main types of data. The first one we'll talk about is called numerical data. It is expressed using a number. The values are numbers, measurements, or quantities. For example, to answer the question, how tall are the students in the class, you would measure the height of each student, which would result in numerical data. The second type we're going to talk about is categorical data. Categorical data are expressed using characteristics. For example, to answer the question, what brand of phones do people use, you would survey several people and their answers would all result in categorical data because people would have different types of cell phones. The questions we ask determine the type of data that we collect and whether or not there's variability in the data collected. In addition to classifying data as numerical or categorical, we learn to categorize questions as statistical or non-statistical. In earlier grades, we learned that there's variability in a dataset if not all of the values in the dataset are the same. A statistical question is a question that can only be answered by using data, and where we expect the data to have variability. Variability is like there's going to be different answers to the questions. Let's look at some examples. The first example, who is the most popular musical artist at your school? Since we're going to have different answers of different artists, it's a statistical question. Our second example, when do students in your class typically eat dinner? Again, there's going to be different answers, so it's a statistical question that shows variability. Which classroom in your school has the most books? All of those are what's called a statistical question. Now let's look at non-statistical questions. A non-statistical question is a question which could be answered by a specific measurement or procedure where no variability is anticipated. Let's look at some examples. The first one, how high is the Empire State Building? There's only going to probably be one answer, so there's no variability there. Our second example, if I run at 2 meters per second, how long will it take me to run 100 meters? Both of these questions are answered by collecting data that does not vary. For example, the height of the Empire State Building is 1,250 feet. This is a specific measurement, and there's no other anticipated response to this question, as the height of the Empire State Building is not expected to change. Let's take a look at some questions and determine if they are statistical or non-statistical. Let's practice categorizing statistical and non-statistical questions and classifying data as numerical or categorical. Let's look at this table. First, let's determine what is the average class size at this school. Is it a statistical or non-statistical question? If we collected data for this question, would we expect variability? We would expect different answers from different classes for this question. Therefore, it is a statistical question and shows variability because there's going to be different answers for different class sizes. This question is collecting data regarding class size. This means we would express our answers with a number. This means we would collect numerical data to answer this question. The next example is, how many students are on the roster for this class? This question is asking how many students are enrolled for this class you're currently in. And is this example of a statistical or non-statistical question? Which type of data would be collected to answer this question? Categorical or numerical? This question would produce numerical data that does not vary. It's still talking about the number of students in the class, so it's numerical, but it's non-statistical because there's no variability. There's only going to be one answer on how many students are in the class. Our next question, what color is this marker? Is another example of a non-statistical question. Since there's only one value in the dataset, there's no variability. The answer to this question would result in which type of dataset? Since we would express our answer by naming the color shown, which is a characteristic, this is an example of categorical data. Our last question is, what are the favorite colors of students in this class? First, let's determine if it's a statistical or non-statistical question. We would expect a variety of answers to this question, such as red, blue, green, or purple. That's showing variability because there's different choices, different answers. This also means that it's a statistical question. Answering a question with a characteristic such as red, blue, green, or purple also confirms that this question collects categorical data. In the upcoming lessons, we'll consider some different ways to represent data graphically.